Hello, welcome to another PG-rated review. I'm, of course, Patrick Gleason, your host from Out of the Basement. Today's movie is Captain Marvel. Yes, again, it's been a long time since I've done a new one. Yeah, excuse me, it takes a while for me to be able to get out to go to movies with all the other stuff going on and, budget, stuff like that. So, first off the bat, I enjoyed this movie. It's a good Marvel superhero movie. It does well. There are some flaws to it, which I'll get into when I go into the spoilers and all that other stuff. But right off the bat, I just wanted to let people know I enjoyed it. I know there was a bunch of stuff going on before the movie with, Rotten Tomatoes and all that sort of stuff. People saying, oh, they're removing the previous scores before we even get to the movie. I don't want to get into that. There's a bunch of other videos out there that go back and forth on either issue. I just want to say, personally, I hate trolls that troll the movie before it even comes out. Before they even see it, they're like, oh, I hate this, I don't want to see it. Especially if there's an agenda behind it, which I don't know if there was or not, but I can tell you one thing. Stan Lee would hate the talk that was been going on for some of this stuff, And speaking of Stan Lee, one of the reasons I appreciated it was they did a very good honor to Stan Lee. Normally in the Marvel splash page, nowadays you see all the different characters and stuff like that, and all the different movies, and then you get Marvel Studios. For this one, they did all the scenes that Stan Lee has done, all the different characters he played, all the different Marvel movies. So that was a nice, touching homage. I thought that worked well. So like I said, this is like I said, it's a Marvel movie. So it's a generic, it follows pretty much the generic plot sort of idea. There are some good things to it, there are some bad things, like most Marvel movies. This is an enjoyable one. I liked it. I found it more exciting than Aquaman, and part of the reason is it didn't do the huge, let's throw billions of things and having a fight. There is fight scenes. Don't start coming after me saying, oh, there's no fight scenes, what are you talking about? Yes, there is, but not the same way as Aquaman did it. And again, people are saying, oh, they're putting up Captain Marvel because she's going to be so important to Infinity War, all that sort of stuff. They're only like shooing her in there. No, her story does fit what's happening. So first, a little bit of other stuff that's going on. People are like, it's not the Captain Marvel from the Marvel comics. I was there. He was a dude and all that sort of stuff. Okay. There's other videos. Again, I'll link a couple below. But the original Captain Marvel was Wiz Comics Shazam. He was called Captain Marvel. He said the word Shazam to turn into the superhero. This dude. Okay? There's a movie coming out from him next year, this year, called Shazam. There's a reason for that, because Wiz Comics had Captain Marvel, who looked an awful lot like a particular Detective Comics hero. I'm not sure why they look similar. Can you tell the difference? Anyways, Detective Comics was unhappy, sued Wiz Comics for trademark infringement, saying that obviously you're doing a ripoff of our character. Which, it was. I mean, Superman, Captain Marvel, they were very similar, just different colors and how they got the powers were different. But you could tell where it's coming from. Now, during the 40s, though, I was going to say Shazam, but Captain Marvel was much more popular than Superman by a lot. So Wiz Comics they're like, yeah, whatever, we can keep it, we can keep fighting you. Then after World War II, the Captain Marvel comics went downhill, so then they gave up the right to Detective Comics, DC. DC didn't do anything with it. They just left it as it is. So eventually later on, another one, MFT Enterprises, another basic comic one, did their own Captain Marvel. And, oh boy, take a look. Yeah, he does not look like anything anyone is familiar with. So it didn't run for very many, I think 4 episodes or something like that. But at this point in time, Marvel Entertainment was there and went, hey, we would like to have a Captain Marvel. So they talked to these guys, they bought the trademark for Captain Marvel. So which then meant they owned it, and they brought out, that's the original iteration from Marvel, the Kree Warrior. who didn't look like, again, he had the blue skin and all that. He was a Kree warrior. And this is what he looked like. Again, completely different from what you may ever think about. Now, DC at this point in time, like, hey, we want to do Captain Marvel again because he's perfect. Except they couldn't because now Marvel owned the name. So what happened was they called the comic Shazam. They could call Captain Marvel in the comics, but not on the cover page, on the front page. So that got confusing for people. So eventually DC just dropped them and just called him Shazam. So now Marvel owns Captain Marvel, and like I said, the first iteration was the Kree Warrior, who eventually got turned into the one that some fans may be aware of. Again, Captain Marvel was never a really popular comic. The reason they kept bringing them out in different iterations because there was the Monica Rambeau one in the 80s, who was the black superhero. I liked her, but she was, again, completely different. She was fully energy-based. Sorry, the reason, like I said, they keep doing it is the same reason Fantastic Four keeps getting redone by Fox. If they don't come out with new stuff, they lose the rights. So, because of that, Marvel keeps trying to do out Captain Marvel again and again.
Of course!
Eventually, Carole Danvers became Captain Marvel. So she was an explosion with Captain Marvel, absorbed some of his DNA and some of his power, and then she was called Miss Marvel. And yeah, I'm glad they didn't stick with the costume for that because, back in the 70s, guys, yes, this is what we want our superhero females to look like. Cringy. But eventually, through other different things, she came about as the new Captain Marvel with the new look, the costume, everything. And it's been doing okay. So this is the Captain Marvel that they're bringing into the MCU. And it works. I like her costume. I like Brie Larson playing it. Samuel L. Jackson's in here. There's some scenes in there, like, it got the feel, part of it is a buddy cop movie.
Prove you're not a Skrull.
A race of noble warriors.
Heroes. Noble warrior heroes.
That's a photon blast.
And?
A Skrull cannot do that.
I'm just supposed to take your word for that. Grunge is a good look for you.
Did you have a rough day, Agent Fury?
I enjoyed it. I think most people will enjoy this one. It's a fun one. I will give this, actually, 8 out of 12 beer. These are the beers that you just don't think about. Like, you get with your buddies. And now on to the good, the meh, and the what the f... So the good, there's a fair amount of good stuff in here. One of the ones is Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury and Phil Coulson get the CGI de-aging, and it works really well. Unlike with the Force Awakens, with Tarkin and Princess Leia, which didn't work as well, in this one it works much better. They've had a few years to work on the technology, and it's really good. The buddy cop stuff works. There's a... spoilers coming up now. Well, I should have actually said that earlier. But okay, spoilers. Captain Marvel, Carole Danvers, doesn't remember who she is. She knows she's got some flashbacks. She doesn't know very much. She sees a lot of times a lot of stuff like this. She's getting knocked down. She falls down. People are putting her down. And that sort of is holding her back. And at the end, she remembers the other parts to that where she stands back up and continues on. So then she gets her full power. The 80s and 90s nostalgia was cute, but not the best. It didn't need to be there. Going on more with the Stan Lee, this is a very... or Stanley does a cameo, but the way they do it is very nice. It's a nod to Kevin Smith's Mallrats, because on the bus where Carole sees him, he's reading his line that he does in Mallrats. So that's a nice scene. That is pretty pretty good. Overall, the CGI with the fighting and all that is pretty good. The Skrulls were great. Like the way they changed their bodies and everything, that was well done. The little nod to Guardians of the Galaxy, because there's two characters from Guardians of the Galaxy in this one, because it's taking place in 95. That, nicely done. Ronan, the Accuser, because he's in charge of the accusers, who come down and destroy planets, because there's a war with the Skrull. That was good. And then there's a few, like I said, a few other scenes here and there. There's a few ones in there. One of the ones is actually the Skrull, because the fight scene that we all see in the trailers, where she's fighting the old woman who's actually a Skrull. See that? I'll do it again. Pause here. That is false teeth coming out. Now the thing is, the Skrulls, I know with their technology and their chemical in their body, they can change their body to look like that person. But how do they know that person had false teeth? Like I said, it wasn't a big one, but it was like, wait, why is there false teeth coming out? That should have been real teeth, like, because the Skrull didn't know that the person had false teeth. Anyways, that was a minor little but it was just gonna have to be there. I did say the buddy cop scenes were good, but there was too many of them. So, and because of that, the tone of the movie is never really sure. There's parts that are the buddy cop stuff, and then there's the ones where it's the lost person who's trying to recover their information, their memory or their identity, and they just don't mesh as well. And again, nothing against Brie Larson for this. It's more of the writing and the directing that didn't give her enough to sink her teeth into to really get into it, because they gloss over a lot of the emotional scenes. Because, Carole Danvers, supposedly, they thought was dead 6 years ago on Earth. She comes back, meets her best friend, who's got the 11-year-old daughter of Monica Rambeau, and there's not really very much emotion there. It's just, hey, I'm back. Oh, okay, I missed you, Yeah, they covered up your death. Okay. The 11-year-old girl showed more enthusiasm, but it was also not quite as believable because it's been 6 years. So she would have been 5 when Carole Danvers left. And I know that does play a lot for kids and stuff like that, but the amount that she remembered and went into details, like, I don't know if a 5-year-old remember all that stuff. But anyways, it's cute, and it's like, again, nod to the 1980s Captain Marvel. The fight scenes were okay. The man, again, also the nostalgia I understand, but it just was too much. Like, I was like, okay, enough with the oh, look, it's Blockbuster. Yay! And the songs. This friend Dwayne knew the song that was going to play during the final fight scene. He figured it out. He's like, oh, they're going to play this. He didn't say it out loud, but in his mind he knew it, and he was right. And a lot of fans on the internet are saying the same thing. They figured that would be the song that'd play. So when people can spot the nostalgia song you're gonna play, that's not the best people. So back to the Carole Danvers thing. Yes, the emotion wasn't there. Also, another part was when she was as Veers, that was her name because it was only part of her Carole Danvers part. So the Veers was what they called her in the Kree group, and you see a few scenes with them, but there's no connection to them. They don't. There's not a build up of who they are. They're just there. They go to one mission, they get attacked, and that's it. So when they turn against her later on because they come to hunt her, you're like, yeah, okay, I don't care, because there was no connection to the team. You didn't build up the team, and they should have done away with a lot more of the buddy cop stuff and focused on the team that she was with and more of her internal struggles of trying to find out who she was, and then on Earth, more stuff like that, rediscovering herself. So that's where it was mad for me. It didn't work, didn't mesh. It could have been improved upon that. There's not too many what the moments, but one is with the cat. Now, the cat being called Goose, I liked. They changed it from the comic books because it was actually Chewie in the comic books, but they named it Goose, which works because she was a fighter pilot, test pilot, and Goose from Top Gun would have worked for a name for a cat. So I didn't mind that. It was more the fact that it wasn't a cat. They built it up to be, oh, it's a cat, but then the Skrulls and other ones are like, no, it's not, it's a Flurgan thing. So, and in the end, it does turn out that it is an alien. And this again goes to the comics, which I didn't know, and because I didn't know, that's where for me it was like, what the fuck is with this cat that can have all these massive tentacles come out of its mouth all of a sudden and swallow up the Tesseract? The Tesseract's where she got her powers from. So, like, it swallowed up the Tesseract and was fine. And then it swallowed up people, and they were fine. And I'm like, what? What the fuck? Because I didn't know what a Flurgan was. And I didn't know that that's what her actual pet actually was. I think they should have at least given a little bit more hint of what it was or something, but that's just me. But so that was my moment. That was pretty much it. The rest, like I said, was overall a decent movie. Everyone from Out of the Basement, we all recommend it. So I do say go see it. And thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.